everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday night Principal Chiropractic Call, sponsored by Band of Brothers and DE. Speaking of DE, DE is August 11th through the 14th, and it's in Marietta, Georgia. So if you haven't booked up yet, do it now. It's going to be a great one. Every DE is awesome, in my opinion. But Steve Judson sent out a thing on Facebook last week, just talking about, people who say, hey, it was part of the family and I'm part of the family and everything. And it's like, hey, it's time to come back. And if you haven't been a DE in a while, it's time to come back. If you got some friends or family or friends and colleagues that need a DE, drag their ass back, because chiropractic, the world needs what DE has to offer. And we're going to do it again August 11th through the 14th. So if you haven't signed up yourself. And if you know somebody who really needs a DE, bring them and save their lives. I've been working with several young docs lately that are just lost and need help. There's hundreds of docs in your area that need help. So reach out to some of your old classmates or whatever, bring them to DE and let this light shine on them. Okay. Tonight, I have to be honest with you, about 15 minutes ago, we had no idea who our speaker was. We were frantically trying to figure out who's going to speak. And I saw on Facebook that Pat Chelenyak was celebrating her 40th. Today is her 40th anniversary of becoming a chiropractor. She graduated from Life College 40 years ago today. So I thought, you know what? Why not ask her? Because she's got stories to tell. And I'm going to let her tell her story. She lives now, and she grew her practice back in Michigan. When I first started coming to DE, she was a big one in Michigan and powerful, little, strong lady with a great relationship with her husband. And she's moved to Florida, and she's in Babcock Ranch, Florida, which is Southwest Florida. And I'll let her tell her story, what she's doing. But I really got to thank her, because literally she had no idea she was going to be speaking tonight until about 15 minutes ago. So let's give it up for Pat Chelenyak.
Hello there, everybody. They are really right that it was just about 15 minutes ago. I had just gotten out of the pool and jumped into the shower, and I noticed there was a message on my phone, and Kat had gotten hold of me and asked that if I would be willing to speak. And my first thought is, it's getting late. I do live in Florida, and I don't know if I want to do it. And then I said, you know what? Told my husband, I says, if you're asked, you need to listen. And I decided, yes, I would do it. And as Andy said, today is 40 years ago. I graduated from what was then called Life Chiropractic College. The school had been, it was 5 years it was open when I started there. Didn't have any any accreditation at all. I didn't even know what that meant. So it didn't matter. I was just told by my chiropractor, who is Dr. John Hoffman from Allen Park, Michigan, late Dr. John Hoffman, who is my chiropractor, and he told me to go to Life. And I knew there was Palmer, but I didn't know there was any other schools besides that. And I did what he told me to do. Went to Life. My first DE was July of 1979 is when I went to my very first DE, and showed up to this hotel down in Atlanta, and there were probably 2,000 people there. It was incredible. And I went all through school, went to DE, and all of my practice went to DE. And taught me what I know today and what I learned. And the biggest thing is, I see today, it's a little different when I was young in chiropractic. When I was young in chiropractic, we would sit for hours and listen to old timers, because we knew They did. They were so successful, saw so many people, they touched so many people, and we'd sit and listen. There were times just stay awake listening to them. And it's a little different now. I don't see as many as the old timers. I guess a lot of the old timers, or maybe I'm an old timer now after 40 years. But it's different than now than it is, and I guess people see things differently. I don't know what that's all about. But anyway, I had an amazing experience this weekend. One of my former patients, she told me this weekend that when she was 12 years old and I was adjusting her, I told her, and I don't remember this, but I do remember telling her later on in high school, but when she was 12, she says, someday you're going to be a chiropractor. Well, that day happened this past Saturday at Sherman Chiropractic, and she had asked me if I would come down and hand her her diploma. And I did that for my daughter 11 years ago. She also graduated from life and practices in Lancaster, Pennsylvania for the last 11 years and is doing amazing. But the person, my former patient that graduated this weekend, it all started when I told her at 12 years old that someday you're going to be a chiropractor. She went on to college. She was a competitive gymnast, went on to college and graduated. I don't even know what her degree was. And I got a call from her one day and she says, I don't know what to do. And you told me someday that I'm going to be a chiropractor. Where should I go? And she decided to go to Sherman Chiropractic. And I am so proud and honored to, number one, to be able to have handed her diploma, but number two is to see the type of person, the type of chiropractor that she's going to be, and the passion. And she's not afraid to ask questions. She's not afraid to do what you say, and she listens to what you say. And she is absolutely going to be amazing. And then when I put that announcement on today, one of my former CAs worked for me. Her first week, there was Katrina would remember this, a Michigan Chiropractic Council meeting or convention. And I took her to that. And after 1 week in the office and at that convention, she decided to be a chiropractor. And she's been practicing maybe 15 years by now. I don't even know. And it's just incredible. That's, to me, the biggest honor you can see is those people that you said something to. So you never know how far reaching what you think, say, or do will affect the lives of millions tomorrow. And that brings me to the point is I see so many chiropractors, whether young, old, in practice, short time, long time, how difficult it is to build a practice. And people say, oh, well, you're not in an active practice now. How would you know? Well, my mentor, Dr. Dr. Sigafus, for many years, over 30 years, tell a simple thing. Tell the story, speak the truth, and it's that simple. People want what we have. People want what we have now more than they ever have. And it's simple. All you have to do is speak the truth, tell them what you do, tell them with passion, don't shove it down their throat. And it's like I would always tell my CAs or my husband, you can't throw up on them on the first visit. You give them the information, you tell them what you do, and you tell them the four most important questions. Do you have a problem? Can I help you? How much is it going to cost, and how long it's going to take? And when you tell that with authority, as Dr. Sid always told us, and you speak from your heart, people trust you and they want what you have. If you think that the medical profession has the answers, they don't. Emergency care, life supportive measures, they're amazing. When it comes to healthcare, they don't have a clue. You know, many of you know, 3 years ago, unfortunately, I had to convert and get a simple, not a simple, I had a cancer that I had to have, as I would say, the fire department come in and help me. But was I going to stay at have the firefighters in at me all the time? Was I going to have the firefighters just keep putting out the fire? No. Then I had to correct what was causing the problem. Okay. We have to, sometimes it comes to that point, but we have to explain to our people what is the cause of the problem. So many times I hear people say, well, I did this, I did that, I did this, I feel better. It's not about how you feel. And I tell them, it's about what's going on the inside, and it's what's happening on the inside and what's causing the problem. Even though you may have a problem in your toe, it might be coming from that upper neck. And so many people that I've talked to over the years, whether it be a patient or people I know, and they say, well, I go to the chiropractor, or the last chiropractor I went to, they would, they never checked my neck. They never touched my neck. Why are you touching my neck? And I tell them, because that's where it all begins. That is like your main circuit breaker. And if you don't correct the cause there, if you don't flip that switch back on, I don't care what else you do, it's not going to correct it. Am I saying that that's the only thing we need to adjust? No. Some people believe that, and that's fine. Because guess what? All techniques work. It's the passion, it's the belief behind the principle or behind the technique that allows it to work to its optimal. Because if every technique didn't work, or only one technique worked, there would not be the Gonstead technique, there would not be the Thompson's technique, there would not be the HIO, there would not be the Kale, there would not be network. They all work. It's how you apply it. And what's the truth and the passion and the belief behind the principle? Are you having the people coming in wishing and hoping that you're going to help them? Because if you're wishing and hoping, or you're afraid to tell them or speak the truth, you got a problem. But if you bring them in and you tell them what is necessary for them to get well, and you lay it out for them with authority, with passion. And when I say with passion, not bubbling all over them, but belief, with strong belief in what you do, they will do what you tell them to do, because people want help. When somebody hands you their tiny little newborn baby, do you think they're doing that just because they want to be nice to you? No, they're doing it because they have faith, they have trust, and they have belief in what you're doing. And that is the most important thing that I've seen. How many people in practice today that don't really believe what they believe? They don't believe. I asked a chiropractor, Pat and I asked a chiropractor we were working with a few years back. And I asked her the one question that Dr. said, and do you have 100% belief in chiropractic? I remember him talking about the story in the, I can't even remember right now, the preacher. But he said, you have to believe in full faith the Bible, the verses, the principle of the Bible. The same thing with chiropractic. If I asked her, do you believe it in 100% full faith? And her answer to me was, no, I don't. And you want to know something? Great person, loving heart, genuine, had a horrible time trying to build a practice because she was not speaking the truth, because she didn't even believe in it herself. So you have to have that belief in order for you to grow and build a practice. And when you do, as Dr. Sid said, is that preacher, I can't remember his name, Billy Graham, as Billy Graham said, your life will take on a new meaning. When Dr. Sid said it, when you believe chiropractic in 100% full faith, your life and your practice will take on a new meaning. And once you do that, you will be set free because your practice will take off because people know when you're telling the truth. And if you've ever walked into a business, and especially nowadays, you can walk into a business, they don't even acknowledge the fact that you've walked in. It's like you're doing them a favor by entering their business. And we were in South Carolina this weekend. I went into a coffee shop. I went into 2 different coffee shops, and I found out later that they were owned by the same company. The first one, it was really pretty cool. It was pretty. It was just bougie and really nice place, but the energy was not good. And nobody really talked. And it could have been that lady that came in all masked up, and as we were walking out and she was walking in front of us and she sneezed in her mask twice. And I said, boy, that's got to be really good today. You're going to be sucking up all that snot you just snuffed out of your nose or spit out of your nose when you sneezed in it. That's a whole nother story. But then I went into the other coffee shop the next day. When I walked into that place, the lady behind the counter was waiting on somebody. She looked up at me and said, I'll be right with you. That's what people want to hear. They want to know that you're a person. We were walking down the street, and a man that lived in the city, lived in that area, was telling us all the places we should go and what we should do. We walked into a men's clothing store. The salesman there, I didn't think we were going to be able to leave. He just kept talking and talking and talking. And he told us that Sherman College over there, that's the best kept secret in Spartanburg. And I thought that was pretty exciting and pretty cool that he knew that. Okay. But the important thing is that you're training your CAs to acknowledge the people, to have the people feel like there's somebody. Our one CA, when people would walk in, her thing would be, would you like me to get you a cup of coffee? It would be in the morning. Would you like me to get you a cup of coffee? And then they say, well, would you bring some cookies with that? Well, you know what Chris did? The next day, she would bring in homemade cookies in the office. That's the type of attitude that you want to have. Not that you physically have to do that, but people want to be noticed when they're in your office. They want to know that you care. And that's what people are looking for. I noticed today on Facebook in our community, somebody was ranting and raving about somebody that she took her son to an ENT, and oh, how fabulous he was because he called them the night after the surgery that she had, or the son had, to see if he was okay. Well, what a concept is that? And I so badly wanted to go on and say, I did that my whole 40 years or 33 years or whatever it was in active practice. Those are the things that we learned at DE. Dr. Sid on Thursday would go through I believe it was the blue book, red book. I don't remember which one. It was blue or red at the time. And he would go through all that with us and show us how to walk a patient back. I know you don't walk them back anymore, but that's how you tell them to go back to the room. How do you tell them to get on the table? How you tell them to get off the table? How you tell them when to come back? You tell them what to do, and you lead them. You lead them with love. You lead them with passion. And when you do those things, it makes it simple because people want what you have. You know, have you ever been around a person and their energy is so good, you just want to be around them all the time because it feels so good. You feel wanted. You feel like they care about you. That's how your practice should be. It's, you don't even have to speak. It's how you're acting. It's your action behind it. So this patient that graduated this weekend, I wanted to give her something. Yeah, we were flying out there and, spending the money to stay in a hotel. And so I looked through my green books and I had an extra green book. And it was The Bigness of the Fellow Within. So I thought, well, I have an extra one. I'm going to give her one of those. This is how N8 works. I opened it up and I didn't know there was a name inside of it. There was a name inside in both of them. One of them said John A. Hoffman. He had given that to me when I graduated. And this other one had another name of a chiropractor, but it's the chiropractor that introduced me and my husband 23 years ago. So I thought, boy, this is pretty awesome. So I know she's going to have some good things coming out of that book. The other book I gave her was The Final Push because I had 2 copies of that. And then the last one was The Meadowlands. And I told her, I said, you need to read that over and over and over again. I says, I've listened to that. I can't tell you how many times, and I've read it. I can't tell you how many times. Those are the things that helped me when I was in practice and helped me to do the things I could do or did. And the other thing I wanted to acknowledge, many of you don't know, but I've known Katrina, Kat, as y'all call her now, but when I knew her, it was Katrina, since February of 1995. She was the, whatever you call it, executive director, whatever the name they gave her, but she was the head of the Michigan Chiropractic Council. And at that time, I was in charge of doing conventions and programs, and her and I worked hand in hand. And let me tell you, she was a young whippersnapper, okay? And she was just learning what chiropractic was. But even back then, she would go above and beyond anything that I needed, any question that I needed answered. She already had the DE idea. She already had the DE principle. And same thing with her husband, Lee. Those two went above and beyond, just like they do today, because they serve with passion. And that's my biggest words to you tonight. Serve with passion, out of your own abundance, with authority. Love what you do. Tell the story. Speak the truth. And love the people. And it's that simple. And if you say, oh, it was easy back then, you guys had insurance, you were the heyday of the 80s, blah, blah, blah. Well, I started in a town of 2,000 people. I don't even know if we had 2,000 people. We didn't even have a traffic light. 2,000 people. And I opened up in February of 1983. And in the first 6 weeks, we were seeing 250 a week. And by the end of the first year, we were at 700 a week. So don't tell me that you can't do it. It's simple. And I did that in another practice. And it's not from outside in, it's inside out. You build your practice from the inside out. And I will tell you, when I had my practice before I moved to Florida, we did spinal screenings. We did talks till it got to the point I couldn't stand doing them. I would be at a spinal screening or a talk, or a spinal screening. I like talks, but I didn't like screenings. And I literally pray that nobody would come up to me because I didn't want to do it because I didn't like them. So guess how many new ones I got there? Oh, I really sucked at it. My husband was great at it. I didn't like him. So one day, and I'm just going to finish here in just a few minutes, but one day we decided that we were going to develop the type of practice we wanted. What type of practice do you want? Who do you want to see? What type of person do you want to see? Do you want to see kids? Do you want to see families? Do you want to see newborns? Do you want to see athletes? What do you want to see? So we decided we were going to see kids, families, and athletes. Pro and down to just little kids. And guess what? That's what we attracted in our office. Not going out, but speaking from within, doing programs in the office to develop the people to come in, to get the referrals. And that's how we built the office. And I can honestly say, were there days I was tired? Yeah, there was days I was tired. But was it worth it? So worth it. And that is one of the things that this weekend, when my former patient graduated, her parents said, we have never seen her so happy. And we really thank you that you said those words back when she was 12 years old. So just remember, speak the truth, watch what you're saying, do it with love, do it with passion, and you will build the practice of your dreams. All right. Thank you. I guess that's all I have to say. Good night.
Girl, you just dropped a lot of bombshells there. I hope everybody was taking some freaking notes, because you got a lot of nuts and bolts. But then again, I've been working with several docs, and one of the things you said, I want to make sure that we discuss this a little bit. You said, you can't, you said it a different way, but you can't sell anything you don't believe, and if you don't believe it in your heart of hearts, you can't sell it. And I know that I still battle that every day, right? So if you were talking to a young doc or even an old doc who's struggled, where would you say they could find that certainty? I mean, what steps would you? First, I know bring them to DE, because that's where I got it, right? But I still work it. What steps would you tell?
I'd tell them they need to start opening up some green books.
Yeah.
Bigness of the fellow with them, Palmer's Law of Life. I like the little ones. I didn't like to read. And if you don't like to read, get it on tape. But start listening. Start looking at the philosophy. People say, oh, philosophy is not important. Philosophy is everything. A practice without philosophy is not. It's osteopathic.
Yeah.
Okay.
In my opinion, the people I know who have the largest practices are the strongest philosophically. And there's no doubt in my mind.
That'd be like going into a church without a Bible.
Right.
Or a synagogue without, I forget what one they use, but without that. So you go back to your principles, you go back to the truth, look at the 33 principles. So you have to have that belief. And if they can't believe it and they have uncertainty, they need to talk to a seasoned doc, somebody that's doing well, not somebody that's not doing well, but somebody that's doing well.
Right. Or several people who are doing well.
Exactly. Because everybody has a different way.
Because everybody thinks, oh, well, he's the exception. No, it's the model, it's the example we're trying to set, right?
And it's just like this weekend to hear these young chiropractors that just graduated and they got it. I mean, they really understand the principle. They understand chiropractic, and it was so refreshing to me to hear that. So, it's look at who you're hanging around. If you look at your friends, look at your friends to the left, look at your friends to the right. What are they like? Are they successful? They may not even be a chiropractor.
Right.
But if they're successful, they're doing the right thing.
Maybe look at your last 50 texts and see where they're coming from. If they're not coming from people, then maybe find different people to text with, right?
Exactly. I just talked to a friend of ours tonight. I haven't talked to her in a long time. And I won't get into her story. She's not a chiropractor, but she had some serious abuse issues since she was 6 years old. From sexual abuse to drug abuse, horrible. Most people would be dead by now.
Mm.
And she just told me, I finally have listened and learned that I had to take a look at who I was hanging out with and change who I was hanging out with. And her whole life changed.
Right. That's
And
awesome.
so that's the same thing with your practice. Look at who's in your practice. What are you attracting? Are you attracting the type of people you want to adjust? You say, well, I want to take care of everybody. No, you don't.
Right.
I mean, my very first practice, they were all senior citizens. I loved them, but I got tired of that wasn't my passion. My passion was young kids and families and athletes. That's what I developed.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with deciding you want to see a certain class of people.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's enough for all of us to go around.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
Again, thank you so much. Last minute, you just dropped the bomb for everybody, and I can't concur with you anymore about how powerful and awesome Kat is. We all ought to thank her. Next DE, make sure you run up there, give her a big hug, because she makes this whole thing run, you know. And so, Patty, appreciate you so much. Have a great night. Love and appreciate you.
thank you. Love and appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.